Hello and welcome to State of the Economy. Today we are having a special discussion on how the goods and services tax, billed as the biggest tax reform in India since independence, will be actually implemented on the ground. Now, in order to implement GST, which is supposed to kick in from April 2017, the first big infrastructure that needs to be developed is an IT backbone. An IT infrastructure backbone is like a central nervous system for the GST to operate, or if you may, it is like the engine which will fire GST as a tax system that we will have next year. So to discuss that, we have with us a special guest, the chairman of the GSTN network, a specially set up special purpose vehicle which will drive the implementation of and the creation of the GST IT infrastructure network, Mr. Navin Kumar. Welcome to our show, Mr. Navin Kumar. So you had a long career in the bureaucracy. You were former Chief Secretary of Bihar. You have worked in the Finance Ministry for 10 years. You've experienced taxation, the system from the state level, at the center, and now you are chairman of GST network. So please tell us, how are you conceptualizing this big project to make GST work?
Thank you for this interaction. You see, GST network, that is the Goods and Services Tax Network. This is a company registered under the Companies Act of 1956, and it has been promoted by the central and state governments together. And it is a company which is in nature a non-government, not-for-profit, private company. So it may appear a bit strange that government has promoted a non-government private company, but there is a purpose behind that.
But the government having 49% stake, right?
Yes. So the equity structure is like this: 49% with the government, 51% with private financial institutions, and the government equity is shared between the center and the states in equal proportion. That is for 24.5% each.
This would also be the first organization of its kind being built by the center and states together, if I am not mistaken.
I think so. You see, this is definitely the first national information utility. If you recall, the government had set up the Technology Advisory Group on unique projects in the year 2010, and they were asked to look at 5 large IT projects in the financial sector, and they were asked to suggest roadmap for that, and that included GST also. GST was one of the projects to be targeted by them, and they at that time came up with the idea of setting up national information utilities, and they suggested that they should be structured as private companies with a public purpose. This was their recommendation. So later on, when GST was being considered by the Empowered Committee of State Finance Ministers, you know that the work was going on for a long time on this. So in 2010 July, they also set up an empowered group on IT infrastructure for GST under Dr. Nilekani, and this body had representation from the central government, from the Central Board of Excise and Customs, and from the states, all the state 5 states tax departments, and these people sat down and deliberated over this issue for almost a year, and then they came up with the suggestion that government should set up NIU as a special purpose vehicle for goods and services tax with the equity structure that I mentioned. So this is the genesis of the goods and services tax network.
Tell me, there has been, before coming to the details of how the whole IT infrastructure backbone will be created, I want to clear up some conceptual issues. Now, in the past we have not had such organizations which are essentially controlled by the government, but in their operations they have 51% stake held by other financial institutions and private entities. Now, this was a bit controversial even when Aadhaar, that organization was formed, and Mr. Nilekani was given charge by the UPA of collecting, making a database. Now, that time I remember the Home Ministry had some problems with the whole database being created in a special purpose vehicle, which is not entirely government owned. But I think we debated that, and we have come to accept such hybrid organizations. So, in the case of GSTN, are you facing similar problems, or I see some murmurs, but I thought that debate is over. Was over with the Aadhaar being in place through that special purpose vehicle.
No, we don't face any problem, because we have been created like this, and we are working, and we find that this structure is very good from the point of view of efficiency. From the point of view of keeping deadlines. This is very good. You see, you must understand the considerations that went in making the National Information Utility as a private company.
Yeah.
See, the main considerations are that it should be an organization that has independence of management. Now, you take the case of GST, where the stakeholders are the central government and the state governments. So, the question is, it should be an organization which is not directly reporting to any government, but where both of them have a say in the management. So that the organization has independence of management, still the governments have a.
So you are saying that tomorrow the states need not feel cheated that it is something that the center is running.
Yes.
And it's biased against us. So to that extent, it balances the needs of the center and the states.
That's right.
In terms of implementation.
That's right. So that is one point. The other point is, you see, it should be able to take quick decisions. Now everybody says, and we know that the decision making in private sector is faster, quick. So the one idea is how to avoid red tape. So you have this structure where you can avoid red tape. The third thing is that the organization should have independence, flexibility in organizational structure, not necessarily structured like government. Because you see, our organization is supposed to have expertise both in IT as well as tax domain. So we have to have people from both sectors. So
you have to marry the skills.
Yes. So therefore, this structure allows us this flexibility to organize it like that. And finally, which is very important, that if you want to have experts in these sectors, then you should be able to hire such experts at the market salaries and be able to retain them, which you can't do in a government structure. So all these considerations went behind this recommendation.
And tell me, what is the board structure? I've read a statement of yours saying that the board structure is such as to ensure that the government has a full say in broad policy decisions. I guess out of 14 board members you have, 7 will be government nominated?
I will explain. See, our board can have maximum of 14 directors. Now, out of that, 7 directors are nominated by central and state governments. You see, 3 directors come from central government, 3 from the states. And
how do you decide which state governments?
That the empowered committee of state finance ministers, they decide.
Okay, they'll decide.
It is rotated among the states. And the chairman is selected jointly by central and state governments. So 7 directors from the government. The remaining 7 directors, out of them 3 come from the private financial institutions, they also rotate. And the remaining 3 are independent directors, and CEO is appointed by the board. So this is the structure, and you must understand the decision making process in the board. In the board, the quorum is not complete unless 50% of the directors present are from government. So what does it mean? It means that no decision can be taken which the government doesn't want to happen.
So there is a safeguard here.
There is a safeguard there. So because you see, the function that we are performing are basically to assist the government in their tax administrative functions. So government is concerned that this company should act according to the objectives of the government.
So in a way, you could argue that this is a subsidiary of the government. Only difference is that it has.
I won't say that it's not a subsidiary. It's structured as a private company with a public purpose. So the public purpose, it is structured such that public purpose will be ensured.
Tell me, what is the advantage of having 51% private stake and 49 government. Is it that you can, as you said, on critical decisions, you could move faster, or is that on the board? If matters come to the board, then you could, by virtue of having 51%, you could sort of move faster and you could prevail upon the government nominees?
No, it's not that, because since government has to be present at least 50% at the time of decision making, so decisions cannot be taken against what the government directors are saying.
Okay.
No, the advantage comes in day-to-day functioning.
Oh, day-to-day.
Day-to-day function. We can function as a private company and not as a PSU. Because PSUs are subject to so many guidelines, so many restrictions. Those restrictions do not apply to us.
If in the event there is a tie, there are 7 government nominees, 7 non-government. So would you have a casting vote or something?
Yes, chairman has a second vote, a casting vote.
You have a second vote, casting vote. Okay. That's interesting. Yes. Now tell me, coming back to the implementation of this whole IT infrastructure network, please tell us how will this happen? How will tax collection system change? Because today you have a VAT which is getting collected. I mean, there is no big IT infrastructure being used to collect VAT. It's being done half manually, and as you said, auditing is done post facto rather than concurrently, right? And even at the center, we don't have this kind of IT comprehensive kind of IT system which gives everybody a number. So, like in direct taxes, today everybody has a PAN number. So, I am told that your network, which is being developed and will be ready in 2 months, and every business entity which is paying GST, or which will eventually pay GST, currently paying either excise or service tax or VAT, they will get one number. Is that the way it will operate?
Yeah. Let me explain first. Let me tell you about the system that we are building and what it will do.
Yeah, please tell
us. Then all
that,
these questions will get answered.
Yeah.
See, we are developing a common GST portal, what we call a common GST portal.
It is like a mother portal.
Yes, this will be a portal. We call that the front end, which we are doing. Now, what will happen here is that it will provide facilities to the taxpayer to come and register himself. That is the first function that he can do. Yeah. So, that application will be registered, it will be sent to the respective governments, approvals taken, and he will be notified that he has been registered.
That is the first step.
That is the first step.
And roughly
that
how
is one
many
function.
taxpayers would be there? I mean, as of today?
Well, as of today, we estimate there are about 80 lakh taxpayers existing.
Yeah, but under GST, once the value chain captures, there will be many more, right?
Yeah, there will be many more, and there is a natural process of growth. We estimate that about 5 to 7% growth will be there every year.
Every year?
Every year.
Additional growth?
Additional.
Apart from what is happening now?
What is already there.
Already, okay.
So, the first function I said is
first
the
step
registration.
Registration. So, then everybody gets a number.
Then the second step is, once you are registered and you are doing business, you are supposed to file your returns periodically.
Okay.
Some taxpayers have to file it monthly, some have to file it quarterly. So, when you file your return, you disclose what has been your turnover, what with whom you have transacted, what is the taxable value, and what is the tax liability, and how much tax you have paid. Sure. So, this comes in the return. And when it comes on our system, so the system requires you to file a return first of all by 10th of the month, where you just give your sales details. Whatever I have sold, I give these details. When it comes to the system, we take that information and put it into the respective purchasers register. That the purchaser does not have to do. So, once it has all the transactions have gone to the purchasers register, then each purchaser will look at the entries in his register, and he will either accept or reject. Okay. He will say, yes, these are my transactions, fine. If he says, no, this is not my transaction, he can reject it. He can also say that, sorry, there is one transaction, which has not been captured, so I am adding. So, he will do all that. So, that is the second part of the return. Once that happens, by 15th of the month, then our system will calculate his tax liability. On that basis, he will make payment of tax. Now, for payment of tax, he does not have to go anywhere else. He can pay tax from our portal itself. So, there are two modes of making payment. He can pay online, or he can pay through manual process over the counter in the bank.
There will be no interface with the excise officials or
No, there is no interface. So,
because the idea is that once you have an IT system, physical interface must
it will be
get minimized, because that's where red tapeism comes.
yeah, so that will be minimized. So, you can make payment through our portal, but when you click that, you will be taken to your bank and you make payment there, bank sends us information. If you want to pay manually, you print a challan, take it to the bank and make payment, bank sends us the information. So, these are the three basic functions this portal will do: registration, returns and tax payments. Okay. Now, as I said, this is the front end. There has to be back end. The back end is the IT system of all the tax authorities, the state governments, the central government, where they do tax administration functions. Yeah. So, once we get this data from the taxpayers, we send it to the respective governments, and then they will look at that, they will make assessments, they will do audit, there may be adjudication, appeals and all those things.
Okay. Those things, you have nothing to do with those functions.
Well, I won't say that. The tax authorities are supposed to develop their own tax system, their IT system, which we call the back end. Yeah. But what has happened that when we started out, we looked at the IT systems of states. Then we found many states, in our assessment, we thought that they won't be able to do it by the time
GST is rolled out. Capacity to do it.
So, we offered through the Department of Revenue that we can do the back end for them. So, at that time,
so you are doing the front end and you are also offering back end services.
That we offered. So, 12 states agreed. They opted for the back end services by us. Okay. Remaining states said we will do it ourselves. But over the period of time,
why did 12 agree and the others did? I mean, the logic that the 12 saw.
I'll tell you.
Why did the others see?
The others, because when VAT was there, I mean VAT is still there. When VAT was introduced,
you saw VAT implemented in Bihar.
In Bihar, I have done that. So when VAT was implemented, Government of India gave financial support for setting up computerized systems. So all the states did that. But what happened was that some states' systems became very sophisticated and very good, but some states were not that good, and particularly the back end work, many states were still doing manually. So that was an issue. Therefore,
so those who are good have agreed to it.
So no, those that were good, they said we will do it ourselves.
Okay, the ones who were the laggards have agreed to do it. Okay, with you.
But then the other issue was, it was not only a question of capability, it was also a question of time, because fixing up a vendor and then development takes time. So 12 states said that, but as of today the number has gone up to 20.
Oh, that's
so now we are doing back end for 20 states.
10 more to come on board out of 30
no,
states. 20
9 states are doing themselves,
okay.
And the central government is doing it themselves. So we are doing it.
So you're saying that for 20 states you will be doing back end?
Yes, we are doing.
Besides doing front end for generally everybody.
Yes,
right.
So back end is also our responsibility for these 20 states.
Okay. Now tell me how do you what are the problems that you foresee when you actually implement this whole IT network? At what stage are you? I am told that that Infosys is doing the coding for this for the applications. Now, are the applications more or less done? IT applications for this project?
See, we have selected Infosys as our partner, IT partner, to develop this project, and we started them on this work in November 2015.
Are you satisfied with the progress?
Yes, we are satisfied. It's good. At that time people said, how are you going ahead with this work when there is no GST in sight? How can you invest money in this? So we said, you see, you have to take advance action for anything that is going to come in future, and therefore we started work in November 2015. And as a result of that,
it was a risk. You had to assume that it will get passed in Parliament, yes, which of course it did. So
we consulted central government, we consulted the Empowered Committee of State Finance Minister, and we suggested to them.
How much is the total project cost? Does it come to?
The project which has been awarded to Infosys is 1380 crores. Which includes the cost of the hardware, the software, the connectivity, operations for 5 years. So that is all included. So this is how this project has been approved and is working. So since we started in November, we are in a happy position today that about 60% of the application development has been completed.
And what remains?
I will tell you. Our software will be delivered in 4 installments. So, the first installment is coming next month, November. So, this is the software which will be used to give a tax identification number to the existing taxpayers of service tax, central excise and VAT.
This is the number you talked about, the first step.
Yes. So, those 80 lakh taxpayers. So, we will be giving them this number which we call GSTN, GST identification number, which is based on basically on PAN. Yes.
So it operates like PAN operates for individual taxes.
Yes. So, in fact, it's a 15 character number, 10 characters from PAN and 5 characters we give. So, this number will be sent to all the existing taxpayers and they will be requested to come to our portal and fill in all the information which the tax authorities want. For example, the name of the directors, name of proprietors, the principal place of business, things like that. So, this will start next month. So, this was the first installment of the software. The other 3 installments will come every month, that is end of November, end of December, end of January. And then this will be finally tested on our hardware. Now, there is another thing which I would like you to know, that while we started work on the application development, we did not allow Infosys to place order for hardware, because government told us that you hold on to this until Rajya Sabha has cleared the constitutional amendment.
So, you had kept that.
So, we kept that because the large part of investment is on infrastructure, that hardware. So, in August when the Rajya Sabha cleared it, then we allowed them to place the order. So, hardware will be ready by December and then we will load this software which is ready by that time on this system, then test it. And then
Are you sure that by April 2017 it will be
definitely
ready to run?
Definitely. In fact, we will start beta run of the software from February, mid-February we are planning.
Okay. Yeah. Now, tell me, there is some apprehension about data protection. Now, this risk could come from this threat could come from hackers. This threat could come from cyber invaders. They could be it could be Chinese. They could be American private hackers. So how will you ensure data protection?
See, this is a real threat, because you see what is happening is that that tax systems
whole nation's economic tax data
30,
will be stored
30
there, right?
tax authorities are coming together.
Yeah.
It will be very attractive target for any hacker or any mischief monger. So, we are very, very keenly aware of this issue. Right from the stage of drafting of RFP, we are focused on this. If you look at the RFP that we floated, there is a whole chapter on this, where we said that the agency who comes and as our IT partner has to do these things to ensure that we have the best data protection for the system. So, we have done that. Infosys will be doing that. So, there we have envisaged data protection at 8 levels, which includes physical security, then security at the data level, at the application level, at the hardware level, at the connectivity level. 8 levels of security are there, and we will be using the best tools available in the world to ensure state of the art security system.
Now, tell me, now you are in charge of the GSTN network. Essentially, you are building this huge IT infrastructure network to make things easy for the implementation of GST. Now, can one save? But you're not a tax person. You're not administering tax as such. So, can one say that that the tax administration will be smooth and will not, the small businesses will not get harassed with multiple form filling, all kinds of this. This has been an apprehension implemented GST in other countries like Australia. I read the Australian experience. In fact, I was there in year 2000 when it was implemented in Canada. So, will this lead to more paperwork for small business or less paperwork?
See, the system that we are going to have, we are taking care that the small taxpayers, they are facilitated in filing their returns. And as you must have seen the law that is still in the making, but the draft is already in the public domain. which says that the small taxpayers up to a threshold of say 50 lakhs, they can go for composition scheme.
There is a threshold. They will be.
There is a threshold. People are exempted below
above
that.
There will be many small taxpayers. Right?
Above that, up to 50 lakhs, people can opt for composition scheme, where they don't collect tax, they don't pay tax, they only pay a turnover tax of small.
It's like a presumptive tax.
Yes. So that, and if you look at the total number of people, the more than 50% of the taxpayers are below this. So for them the process is very easy. It is only for the larger taxpayers that all those returns, return 1, 2 and 3 are required. And these returns also, if you see, these are nothing new. Earlier what was happening is that you were filing all the 3 at the same time. Here now you are filing on 3 different
But generally you would agree that there has to be a lot of coordination between your department and the tax administration.
See, we
have to work together.
We are, our systems, as I just explained, the IT ecosystem for GST consists of the front end, which is GSTN, and the back end, which are the tax authorities, and we are linked.
We have to run together. In that sense,
because if you look at it, actually, we are basically a pass through. We collect information, accept information, and pass it to the tax authorities. And they do their tax administration on that basis. But the advantage is, see, 95% of the taxpayers, 100% of the taxpayers, we are the interface for them. Only about 4-5% out of them will be picked up for assessment or audit. So 95% people will not have to go to tax authorities at all.
Yeah, will be free in any case. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Navin Kumar, for talking to us and for really sort of explaining in detail how this GSTN network will work. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
That's all we have in this edition of State of the Economy. We'll be back with you next week. Thanks for watching.